AEW Dynamite. Oh, finally get to talk about it. Oh, the excitement in the air for me, Matt Mayer, aka Imp. Follow me on Twitter at the damn Implicat. And today I am joined by One Nation Radio's James Boyr to talk about AEW Dynamite for the first time here on Wrestling Headlines. I am bloody looking forward to it. A good wrestling show coming out of All Out, full of hype after an amazing pay-per-view. Just full, I was about to say full of hype again, but it was. It was incredible. A genuinely all-time great pay-per-view. Also, we don't know if individual match stuff will stay over the test of time, but the energy you get from watching that show, like, the stars don't matter. Because the stars aligned for a special match. That was unscripted. I'm happy with that segue. It was an incredible night with all the debuts, and this was the aftermath of all those debuts. You got the excitement of Adam Cole, of Danielson. What's he going to do? What's CM Punk? What's his first proper program going to be? Is he going to end up in a feud with somebody he didn't even threaten? The answer is yes. So we've got a lot of things kickstarting. It's felt like the first episode of a new season, setting things up. There's kind of a little bit of excitement as they then promise us quite exciting matches for next week, deliver us exciting matches on this show, and Arthur Ashe, which is just round the corner. So it's an exciting time to be an AEW fan. But James, how are you doing? How are you enjoying AEW right now?
I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, I thought that bell to bell, the pay-per-view wasn't necessarily the peak of AEW pay-per-views. I think it's like the second or third best one. But it doesn't matter. Like, they had hella debuts and surprises. Like, to bring out Minoru Suzuki, to bring out Ruby Soho, to bring out Adam Cole, to bring out Bryan Danielson, that was just like shock and awe for, a 4-hour show of just incredible, an incredibly cohesive show of just like bell-to-bell action. Was all like, I think only one match I would not say is good, and that was a battle royal, but that's fine. It's a battle royal. Battle royals are not meant to be good bell-to-bell action. But to top that all off, to have like that kind of a ammunition, if you will, added to the roster, even from the cameo of match of Suzuki on this show, Dynamite, and then having Danielson, Soho, and Punk, like, that's just a big deal. And like, I just can't wait to see all of the toys mash up together.
Oh, it's Tony Khan with a fresh new set of toys, and he just cannot wait to get home and play with them. It's an exciting time. And the big thing, which is coming out of All Out, obviously not just the debuts, the incredible match with Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros 2, it's going to be difficult for that to not be my match of the year. Gonna have something spectacular is going to have to come out. I watched it again yesterday, and it's still amazing. It still works outside of the hype of the pay-per-view. It's just a solid match, and yeah. I mean, we recently here on Wrestling Headlines, we put Sam Brown worked on the list of the top 50 AEW matches from 2019 to 2021. While the 2021 list onwards has started off hot. Jesus Christ. These both Young Bucks with an incredible match. And yeah, the excitement in the air. I noted it when I did the Raw review on Tuesday, but I've seen people on Twitter who are normally don't watch WWE every week, and they're not like anti-WWE or anything. Like, they'll be singing their praises, or they normally go that way, a little bit stronger. And even they were saying they didn't want to watch Raw because they wanted to stay excited about wrestling. It's like, wow. And these are people who, like, they gravitated to WWE more, but what AEW is doing recently is really grabbing them and showing them, like, no, wrestling can be done in this different way. It can be exciting. You can try and please your fans rather than, for some reason, hate them. I don't know, it's some weird spite of being a wrestling company. So, yeah. But, yeah, AEW is on absolute hot fire right now. It's just goodwill with the fans being built up incredibly strongly. And, like, even there was one, I think I got into a Twitter thing with one person saying, like, how can you be so certain that Bryan Danielson's debuting at All Out? And my main reason was in a throwaway promo. It was just QT Marshall was just going off at Big Show, but the line he said was, "Here in this company, we don't break our promises. We don't let you down." And as soon as he said that, I was just like, it's QT Marshall that said that. Bryan Danielson's going to be at All Out. It's just confirmed. It's just, oh, yes, amazing. But yeah, AEW building up incredible goodwill. CM Punk was not that long ago, and now we're just so hyped with Adam Cole, with Bryan Danielson. We have Ruby Soho on this show later as well. It's incredible momentum. And it's just the excitement around the product. They did, for me, the like kind of, if we're going to do like a one sentence quote review of this show, it's that it successfully carried the momentum from All Out. That excitement is still there around the company. You didn't get to the end of the show and go, I'm a bit tired of wrestling now, I want a break. Like, no, I can't wait for Rampage. I can't wait there. The stuff they hyped on that show as well. Like, that momentum's carrying on. Every show set to come after this has got like a big match that you can't not help but get excited for.
Yeah, and I think in a way, the pay-per-view in and of itself is the night of the card. So much stuff went well as far as the execution of the surprises, the debuts, and also the matches. But one thing going into it was, if you look at, and Rich pointed this out, and it didn't dawn on me until he pointed this out. You look at the stories and the build in most of these matches, like aside from Jericho and MJF, obviously, like, it was kind of a weak card from the storyline build. It was just like, not necessarily anything was bad, but some of the stuff was like, okay, so Britt's up against a challenger that on TV we don't really see much, and that's a byproduct of the fact they don't do that much. They don't showcase their women as much as most would like, or I would like anyway. You look at the Lucha Bros and the Bucks. While the Lucha Bros went through the tournament to get to the Young Bucks, they didn't have much interaction, and I think that's because the process of the tournament being so just almost like you win and then you're almost like a week later you're in the match. Then you throw out like Christian like is just on paper is a weaker challenger, new to the let's say the AEW universe, if you will, newer to the company, the promotion. And a lot of people were just really dead set on the Hangman match that gets pulled because of the paternity leave. So like there were things that were working against the show, but it just didn't matter because the night of it, and this, I think a lot of this times, the beauty of wrestling, where like you can come in with a weak build, you can come in with a weak storyline or a weak challenger, and you can save it in the ring. If you go back to like 2016, one of my favorite examples of this is like that Charlotte and Sasha Banks feud on Raw in 2016. They weren't. This was not Becky versus Charlotte per se. This was not Bayley versus Sasha per se, as far as like the depth of character work and long-term story and characters, and just feeling an immense amount of tension in that build. It was just like, they're just going to go out there and wrestle. Like, the promos aren't even necessarily good. They're going to go out there and wrestle, and the wrestling will save it all at the end. And when we look back on that, fondly, because we got the vision of Sasha making Charlotte cry and getting her hand raised by Ric Flair and Charlotte. Like, so I think that that was kind of a weak build up, kind of compared to the previous pay-per-views in AEW, but coming out of that, we have so much stuff. We have so much stuff, and like the hit the ground running with like two matches like Malachi and Dustin, or Suzuki and Moxley. Like, I was just like, in the way that those matches went, like I thought this was one of their better episodes of Dynamite, which is saying something, because like some of their best episodes of Dynamite are some of the best episodes of North American professional wrestling I've ever seen.
It's just that phrase of, how come this week of Dynamite is one of the best episodes of Dynamite? You say that every single week. It's just
seemingly, yeah. and it's always for different reasons, whether it's the promos or it's the a big angle shot or whatever else. Like, in the recent weeks, it wasn't like that, but like I feel like we're kind of back on track to kind of once they started getting crowds back. So it's I feel like it's going to be a really fun ride for the next weeks and months potentially.
Yeah, and on this show as well, it's the two notes I had from it were the kind of the opener and the closing, where the opener was like, oh, you're opening the show and with all this hype coming out of All Out, you're not opening the show with Elite cutting a promo and you do all the Daniel Bryan stuff there. Oh no, you're opening with a wrestling match. Nah, that's crazy. No, opening a wrestling show with wrestling. That's too bold. You can't do that.
It helps when there's also some of the work of that pay-per-view. They built towards having stuff happen before and after. The Santana and Ortiz versus FTR part, the second version of the match after what happened to Hair with his arm, like to have that on the go home show, that go home week, and then to have all of the, I guess, Malachi Black destroys Cody Rhodes' life and family segment, the transition from the Lee Johnson thing to Dustin on Wednesday. Like, I thought that was great to give you something to look forward to, and that's the thing with AEW. They are always going to give you things to look forward to in the coming weeks, and they fill out the card after that. And like, building anticipation is what wrestling is built on. Like, I think at its best for WWE, it would be like after the brand split in 2016, when like you knew one or two things like that were being built to for like either 1 or 2 or even sometimes 3 weeks out for SmackDown Live. Like, and that was really important at that time. That's why that show did so well with AJ and Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss and I almost said Moxley, Dean Ambrose at that time.
It's just that wheel just keeps spinning, and the next turn is always there. You know where you're going. You know what is next. As in, how can we not stay hyped when it's Andrade Pac on Friday? And what they did on this show as well to build up MJF Pillman and Caster Pillman as well. Like, there's just so much to look forward to at that next step. It's not just this show. It's not like the short term. How can we make this show good? It's always the bigger picture is always there. And like, one of the criticisms I saw as well was, with all these stars coming in and all the big pops on AEW being the return, or not the returns, being the debuts of all these new stars, like who they're going to debut next, who's going to be the next amazing acquisition. One critique was, well, what are they going to do once they can't debut all these names and generate hype that way? To which immediately everybody just who watches AEW routinely was just like, they'll just continue doing the thing that made those people come to AEW. They'll just go back to that, telling the stories, putting it up the character, just the creator. So then it screamed bad faith take from someone who doesn't watch the show. And it was just right, but they've seen the generated hype.
It was one of those things where we talked about, me and Rich talked about this on One Nation Radio on Monday. Like, I hadn't seen that tweet, but I heard it just on face value, like, that sounds ludicrous. And for me, it was so ludicrous. I was like, okay, this person must have something more than just that, but it's Twitter, so the constraints lead to a lack of nuance being just cut off. But when people see that just at face value, they're going to think you're out of your mind.
Yeah. You need to make it a thread. Explain yourself. Type of stuff.
Or don't tweet it.
Or do that. Yeah.
Don't tweet it.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm a person that doesn't want the thunder to come to my door. Like, I don't want the beef coming to my front door like Domino's. Shout out to Lloyd Banks. But like, the stuff I tweet is kind of benign for a reason. Like, I have a podcast, luckily. So like, the stuff I need to say that may be controversial, I can sit down and explain it. Like, if I could tell you, like, I tell you, like, I don't think that Hangman Adam Page should be the AEW World Champion right now. Like, I can explain that to you in a longer form, as opposed to like tweeting out at 240 characters. People think I'm out of my fucking mind because he's so over it with the crowd.
Yeah, right. 15 minutes into the show, I feel like that's got our kind of like overall painting the picture of what AEW is like, where we are at with AEW. This is me taking control of one of our shows, which always goes off the rails. We always talk about something unrelated, and they go way too long. So, the main topic for the show: Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Is it looking like that match is set for Arthur Ashe? I'm going to run through the segment and then we'll just talk about it, all the excitement. There are a few stories spinning off of other things from the segment as well. So, the Elite was promoted to be interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and it's fair to say that's not quite what happened. First, they all come out sans Adam Cole because they got to do the big introduction, have his music play as they look at the new cool guy. And immediately makes me laugh by Don Callis just yanking the mic out of Tony's hand as soon as he got in the ring. I thought, well, it's not going to be an interview. That's the end of that. He don't have the microphone. Don Callis is just going to run his mouth now, jabbering about their greatness. Nick Jackson with an obnoxious nose ring. I'm just going to say it. Just that, and that chain going all the way down. The Young Bucks are adding layer upon layer upon layer on looking like idiots. Just every week they do something else, and Nick Jackson's beard, the way that he's dyed it, Jesus Christ, man. Taking a hit for the show. That is crazy. And yeah, this week, the nose ring. Is like, when I think they can't add any other layer to look like twits, they come up with the next one. That nose ring is insane.
They got more looks than Madonna, and like they're all awful. Like, I swear, Nick Jackson has a new like facial hair style or color than like the women in Stardom from week to week, from weekend to weekend, with just hairstyle in general. Like I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know who's it for, but like they all look like goofs. Kenny's hair is always terrible. The fact that it's in blue is just like, okay, whatever. Instead of it being like grayish, yellow, whatever that is blue now. So congratulations. But it's really special what they're doing. And like I feel almost like they're doing this because if they don't, they feel like the crowd will still support them. But it's like, nah, y'all have pretty much been assholes. No, I think they would hate you regardless. But like, those clothes are awful half the time, like especially awful, and the facial hair is worse. Like Nick Jackson, when he came out for Double or Nothing with this rust looking hair, I was like, what is going on? Like he looked like the Tiger guy from the Netflix documentary.
Yeah, Tiger King.
He looked like Tiger King, and like think of where we are now. He looks he has like the nose ring like from the villain from 300 now. Like he's I don't know. I want to know who is like helping him, like him and also Matt, like come up with these disgusting looks.
It's incredible. And we got a close-up of it because he was the one to bring out Adam Cole, baby. So out comes Cole, and to a great ovation, obviously. And just a little story that was coming out today via Dave Meltzer, who is reporting on one of the reported stories proposed to Adam Cole, where apparently coming from out of creative, so Bruce Pritchard or Vince McMahon, so it's more likely the idea they would have gone with. This is not one of the many thrown out by creative. This is Vince and Bruce themselves, with that idea of Adam Cole being Keith Lee's manager in a Leo Rush, Bobby Lashley type way. And just immediately, my immediate reaction is, well, that's just absurd. Yeah, he made the right decision coming to AEW. It's like, what? Yeah, when that is what's proposed, yeah, I mean, Adam Cole's had nothing but nice things to say. He's been nothing but positive about everybody there. Obviously, he's not holding any grudges, but of course, as fans, when you look at what the idea was, it's like, yeah, we're getting a much better story here. 100%. 100%.
Yes.
This is so much better.
Like, I'd much rather be the underboss, the number two in the Elite as a singles wrestler than be like the Leo Rush person in a pairing with Hill. And it's also like, oh, so you're turning Keith Lee heel too? Great. Like, I don't know what it is with this man and his inability over the last, like, I don't know, 7-8 years to like see people that are just inherently likable and then turn them heel, because like he has no use for people that are inherently likable. Like, turn Bailey heel, turn Kairi Sane heel, turn Asuka heel. Like, I don't know what's going on. Ruby Soho comes out, Ruby Riott debuts as a heel, never even runs as a babyface, even though like in NXT she was really liked as a babyface. I just don't get it. Naomi inherently likable, never really given a shot as a babyface in the women's division. Seriously, like it's really weird.
Well, yeah, my main takeaway from WWE is they just don't know how to do baby faces. And even if they do them relatively well, in like Drew McIntyre, after a certain amount of time, they just start to drop the ball. And you hear the things like, well, this is what gets babyfaces booed. Type of reactions and things.
Yeah.
And it has happened.
Yeah.
Drew did start to get booed, which is a shame.
And
it's been great.
And it's so crazy. Like, WWE, like, is the New York territory, the territory that ran on babyfaces. Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, like Brett, Shawn, Steve Austin, The Rock, all the way to John Cena, and then you had John Cena, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and then like Daniel Bryan like broke their entire like way to build baby faces, like top of the card baby faces. Like it's almost like he got over by us beating him to death when the crowd didn't want that, and therefore they revolted, and then we gave them what they wanted after we had to change plans. And it's like that's why we do babyface. Like Sami Zayn comes out, and he could have been a number 4 babyface on a brand, number 3 babyface on a brand, where you put him in big matches and you beat him, and maybe he gets a title reign or something like that. Nah. We just immediately beat him, and then like it doesn't work, and then we wonder what happened, and then like that's been like rinse, wash, and repeat for like so many people. Like we got Drew McIntyre and Bianca Belair over the last couple years as like examples that like if you can book somebody and present them well and they're likable inherently and they're kind of earnest and they have a kind of rapport with the crowd, like they can do that, and it works. And it's almost like they don't realize that like how they've booked the last few years is like booking on the exception that proved the rule that like y'all are messed up. It's really weird. But back to AEW, they don't have that problem at all because they find people that are likable, they push them, and they win a bunch of matches, and occasionally they'll lose to get heat for the next person that may be bigger than them. But like they're not lacking for baby faces anywhere. And like quite frankly, most promotions that I watch don't lack for baby faces. It's only this one, that WWE one. It's weird.
It's so weird. But this show as well showed you how to play certain baby faces to certain crowds. As in, not acting like your whole fan base is one homogenous entity. Like, the different cities, you can play to them in different ways. And they bloody did that in this show. Like, incredibly well. Incredibly well. And, but yeah, so Cole immediately stepping up to Tony Schiavone and threatening to slap him if he looks at his girl the wrong way. Just step down, nerd. Step down, nerd. Get out of the ring, nerd. It's just... Oh, that was such good heel stuff. Just amazing. Immediately establishing him as a jerk is like, oh, it's fantastic. Just,
I did not know that Adam Cole was threatened by Tony Schiavone, but the fact that, like, just historically dating back to NXT, like, he is a very, very, not a double entendre to talk about his height, but he is a very small, insecure man, and he always has been. So, like, I'm glad to see that carries through wherever he goes. He's really good at getting hot about the smallest things. Like, there's a reason why Triple H loved him so much. Triple H is really big on that too, of being like this heel that just like has the mental fragility that's like this small.
And Cole say that he may be new to AEW, but he's been elite for a very long time, just catching everybody up who either wasn't watching like Ring of Honor or New Japan at their massive height, or any being the elite, like just catching everybody up to speed. Like, no, Adam Cole, and they even put it on Adam Cole's like name card that came up as well, said specifically that he was a part of the Bullet Club with them. So just making sure everybody's fully aware that this isn't just a random pairing. This has got history to it. It makes all the sense in the world. And another guy to revel in the fact he can call himself a professional wrestler in the promo. You can see it. Like, the crowd may not care that much, but you could just see he just takes a second. And it's the little smile before carrying on. It's like, oh, I can say this. This is nice. It blatantly means a lot to some people. Just to be able to do that. It's quite nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing, Adam Cole is, and also Daniel Bryan too, like, they're very respectful for their time in WWE. But that pro wrestling line is different when it's Adam Cole, and Adam Cole has had to say, like, the kind of talent he is as opposed to the kind of professional wrestler he is for, like, the last 4 years. So, like, it did hit different, and, like, he was hitting on that on purpose. So, I think that was smart for you to bring that up.
And telling the crowd off and not thanking the elite for everything, which is... it's just that point. Like, you see this take so often in the social media spaces and things of, the Elite are just holding AEW back. Oh, AEW could finally move forward if it just wasn't for the Elite. It's just like, if you don't at least like try and find out the history of this thing, you're gonna look like an idiot. It's just, and I say it from people that I would assume more logical as well. It's just like, I know you follow wrestling. Why would you say this when you know all Elite Wrestling? They literally, it was them that even announced this thing even existing. It was their doing specifically.
Think about it from this perspective. And Rich pointed this out to me. In 2019 and 20, like, you could argue that they did not make themselves, they did not push themselves hard enough, and they were doing all these jobs. Like, they got bounced, or the Young Bucks got bounced out the first round of the tag team tournament by Private Party. They lost the second match, that ladder match, to the Lucha Bros. They kept losing. They put over when it was time to get their title shot in 2020 at Revolution, they lost to Hangman, right? Kenny Omega, he failed immediately out the box as a singles wrestler, went into the tag team thing, had that great tag run with Hangman, and then he turned up at the end of the year. Same thing for the Young Bucks. Like, they spent the first year in the company putting almost everybody else over. Cody, you could argue, hasn't stopped putting people over still to this day in that way. And now we have come full circle where, like, these are two, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are two of the top acts in all professional wrestling, regardless of promotion, regardless of what country. And now the numbers have shown that, like, the company has grown with them as the top stars in the claim of their matches, especially the Young Bucks matches. And the response now is now they're beating too many people.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's why Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are there. So I guess we'll even it out, and then, like, I guess I will figure it out from there. It's time to recalibrate. The status quo has been changed, so maybe they shook up the snow globe, and we'll see where they go from there now. But it's been a wild ride, since October 2019, hasn't it?
Especially as of course we came from, like, New Japan and Ring of Honor as well, fully aware of everything. I was watching Being the Elite as well. I wouldn't call myself somebody who checked it every single week, but, like, I knew of the show. I at least knew what was happening on it. And it's crazy, absolutely crazy to see the way that it ballooned. All In, obviously, the catalyst for it all. Then the meeting with Tony Khan and all it coming off of that. Yeah, it's crazy. And then, of course, to see the takes, it's kind of like, there's a reason I don't respond to them, because they're so blatantly not within. It's so basically not an argument that's going to go anywhere, because they're not operating on on what's actually happened. So it's their interpretation rather than, well, no, this thing happened. It's not going to go anywhere.
I mean, I think in social media, like, the hyperbole is, like, super high, and you have to try and figure out quickly, or not quickly, like, you have to try to figure out, like, what's in good faith and what's not, right? Like, so, I mean, I don't know how a lot of these people, like, if you're a booker for professional wrestling and you're online, like, I don't know how you have the confidence to continue to pull through and do what you do. Like, I think the committee system that's kind of at place with EVPs and Tony Khan, like, that kind of saves them, because, like, you might be down and think that whatever you're doing is not working at this point in time, and then, like, it takes, like, a group of people to be like, all right, nah, hold the course, or we have to restructure some things, but we believe in this person, and it's going to work. Like a lot of companies would have, after, like, the Nightmare Collection or whatever it was with Brandy Rose and Buddy that's bald headed, that's on Dark all the time, and Meg, like, a lot of people would have looked at that and been like, okay, Dark Order is also struggling. Britt Baker as a babyface is not struggling. Like, they just like figured it out eventually. So it helped with Brody Lee, obviously, but, like, they figured it out eventually. So I just don't know. It has to be a really hard job to do all of that right now. Like, I mean, look at Triple H. I'm not talking about the heart issue he's had, but I'm talking about, like, going to cable, looking at booking how you've booked, going to expand to 2 hours, doing a lot of good things, not struggling because you're in a LA Fitness with 400 people as opposed to like going against, 4 or 5,000 people every single week. And getting notes from Vince McMahon or whoever else on how to change the show to make it more mainstream in front of a poorly lit 400 room for 400 people, like that has to affect your confidence in being able to do this job. But hopefully Triple H is on the road to recovery after his heart episode from apparently this week. But yeah, I just has to be hard. That's all I'm saying. And I've digressed again from actually talking about the show. So listen, I'm sorry.
This happens every time. This is.
Yes, it does.
Whenever I have James on, this is going to happen. It just is.
Yeah.
Tangents galore. Be happy we haven't just stayed mainstream on a not even related topic. We're on topic today at least. So that's good. Cole announces he'll be making his in-ring debut next week, and he was announced later in the show that will be against Frankie Kazarian, which explains why Frankie Kazarian ran out to attack the Elite. As in, obviously, he's the Elite Hunter. He's better, if we're going to give him praise, he's better than Yoshitatsu was at being the Bullet Club Hunter. I'll give him that. Oh, that's a callback. He's better than that. He actually hits moves and they affect the opposition compared to Yoshitatsu. It was just nothing. like he was chopping a brick wall. Just nothing, Yoshi. You're useless. But yeah. So next week, the debut. Yeah. And it's against a trusted veteran as well. So you're going to get a solid match. But speaking of the debuts and matches and things, one of the other critiques I saw was that, or how are they going to fit all of these people onto this one show with going to feature these new names? To which immediately in my head I was thinking, you're picturing it like they book like WWE, as in every week you got to make time for these people to do their segment. That's not how AEW book, and we saw it on this episode. The amount of matches or segments that featured young stars, I was really impressed. Just especially you got full-on matches. At least 2 or 3 segments were full of young talent, and not even featuring any of these new names, which has to be applauded. Really, really good stuff. And as in they're using the spotlight that's on them to show you the future, show you this young up-and-coming talent, and not just say, look, we've got these old names. Look, let's just wheel out the names one by one. No, they're showing you what got them there. They got them here to this dance, got them to where they are at currently. It wasn't just, look at these exciting names coming in. It was for me, that's the thing that anyone who hadn't checked into AEW, because we've been singing its praise for God knows how long now, since its creation. You kind of seen the praise of the show. But some people just weren't listening or weren't interested, really. Type of thing. But CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and, it's going to do me in calling him Bryan Danielson, and also screw you, Bix, calling him... was it like Brian Danielson or something like that? Like, screw you. You done my brain in. It's so difficult to think it right. Or Daniel
I think
Bryanson.
I'm just going to call him Brian until I get it right.
Yeah. In my notes, it's just Brian. It's I don't need to change anything. It's perfect. But yeah, and just featuring all that young talent. So just that they showed you on this episode, yes, they got loads of new names coming in, but how are they going to find time to feature everybody? Well, that's the thing with AEW. They don't feel like they don't have to feature everybody every week. They don't. Pac and Andrade didn't have a single segment on this show. Yeah, they got a match on Friday, but the way they hyped it was to tell you there's a match happening on Friday. They dedicated time to it, but there wasn't that need to pull them out onto the stage and have them do a promo telling you there's a match. It's a difference in booking of the show philosophy. And the AEW's entire thing, they said before they even aired a single episode, we're going to produce a show where we can rotate the people so folks can have a rest, so they don't feel like they're not going to be on TV every single week. Hopefully that'll keep the talent a bit fresher and not risk as many injuries. And yeah, you saw it on this show. They were able to dedicate time to certain things. Lucha Brothers, they didn't get a celebration, they got a wee little promo. So you got to see that over this show. And Adam Cole getting his little announcement as well. So looking forward to that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to finish my notes for this segment. One of us keeps taking it in different directions. So just as Omega starts talking about hating interruptions, out comes Bryan Danielson, said his name right, to his booty-popping classical theme. I like it. That was, again, That was one of my favourite tweets from the weekend. Someone imagining the conversation between Daniel Bryan and Tony Khan. It's like, oh, what kind of theme music do you want, Bryan? It's like, oh, I was thinking, I want something classical, but also something you could pop your booty to. And that's this theme. It's something unique. It's something unique. And yeah, Omega clears the ring to address the man directly, but Bryan just snatches the mic out of his hands and cuts right to the chase. I really like this. You guys want to see me wrestle Kenny Omega? And I loved the note of Bryan seeing for himself how title hierarchy works differently in AEW. They found a nice way to have a little dig at WWE, but it fit in terms of character, in terms of continuity that AEW does do, as in them coming over from WWE, they don't acknowledge that, oh, who's this random person that we've never seen before on our specific show? They're like, no, we know you know them. So obviously we're not going to pretend their past doesn't exist. And for me, it's like a double-sided thing where you get to do a little joke about how WWE runs things, but also it makes sense because Bryan was in WWE after all these years. So the way that he's like, oh, I know how to get a title shot, but that's not how it works. I like it. It's just a nice little note. So my takeaway from this was that we are looking like we're getting to a big match for Arthur Ashe, assumably the main event. And Danielson also goading Kenny into attempting an attack, but right into the S-Lock as the champion is caught, which cued into our brawl of Jurassic Express, Christian and Frankie Kazarian, all making the run-in save. In the end, Cutler's the last man left, circled by dragons and dinosaurs as he takes a running knee to the face. The crowd chanting that he'd effed up. Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so well done. So good. Also in the beatdown, Brandon Cutler was the first to get to Bryan, and he just started spraying him. It was so funny.
Yes. Like, he sprayed him with the cold spray, and, like, Bryan's like, well, it's cold spray. Like, whatever. Yeah. And then, he lets go, and then, like, he gets isolated, and then he's the one that eats the running knee. So I loved it. Cutler's just a really good, like, I don't want to say job guy, but at least, like, a comedy guy, at least just being a geek. Like, he's really fun and really good at that.
I took that moment to fetch some water from the side. So he experienced silence for like half a second. Oh, right. But yes, incredible segment, and obviously, as you can tell, I did warn you at the start that there's lots of little segments to spin off of it. So we're finally going to rock on with the rest of the show, which was just as solid as this was. Like, genuinely, I'm like really hot on the rest of it, and quite literally hot because it's like 30 degrees. Anyway, and I'm knackered. All Out, I went to bed at like 7:30 in the morning. Tuesday, went to bed at like 5 in the morning after doing stuff. So today, it's the last day, and I'm excited to talk about it. An exciting show. So, AEW Dynamite from September 8th, 2021, and oh my, was this a special Sunday night? Oh my, Sunday special, and this was a special follow-up as well. Made sure to get in my George Takei voice. So, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, Malachi Black, which is easy for me to say, started the show against Dustin Rhodes. The crazy concept of opening a wrestling show with a wrestling match. Insanity. And this was basically just Malachi's destruction of Dustin. Like a backdrop through a table, kicking the leg out of his leg, mentally playing with him as he pisses him off, kicking Cody's boot towards him. Just like a wee fight back from the man, like Dustin whipping out a destroyer. But the charge took him right into the exposed turnbuckle from earlier, and the spinning heel kick for the win. Are they calling it Black Mass in AEW?
They are not. They're calling it a spinning heel kick for now. Me and Richard wondered what are they going to call it. I don't know. They don't have a name for it yet. But they have made sure to not call it a Black Mass yet.
Yeah, I thought it was spinning heel kick, but yes. Anyway, also blood pouring out of Rhodes' mouth as Black walks away, caught by something. But the visual worked absolutely perfectly to the point where I wouldn't call you an absolute idiot for going, oh, is that genuine blood? Because it adds so well to what the story that they're telling. I think that was an absolutely fantastic accident. It looks so damn good, specifically to make Black look even more crazy. As in, he kicked that man so hard that he's just dripping blood out of his mouth. It was Yeah, a fantastic visual. But yeah, a really strong. I want to say really strong opening match, as in it's continuing the story of Malachi Black, and it led into a really good pop later on where they were just casually going through future matches, and they just flashed up Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black at Arthur Ashe, and the crowd was just like, oh my god, the match is finally happening, get it there. I feel like they've done a really good job building Black, and for me, the kind of the big thing for it is how incredible his entrance is. That, as in, an aura just enters the arena when he does that entrance. It's not been lost. They've kept that up, and he continued to be built really strongly. I will not be surprised if Cody Rhodes just puts him over again, as in it just feels like make this man an absolute. I was going to say phenom, but just this unbeatable beast who will beat the shit out of you. And Cody Rhodes is top guy to kind of put him over.
If I looked at this, Social Suplex, our lead host is Floyd Johnson for All Things Elite. He is a super fan of Cody Rhodes. He thinks that it will be similar to the Brody Lee thing where it was a squash match and then he comes back and gets his win back. From my perspective, I think that it would almost be booking malpractice if Cody were to win that match Arthur Ashe. Like, the way they have presented Malachi Black from day one, he is a top of the card guy. He has been presented as the number 2 heel in this promotion. In front, like the way it's tracking, would you rather face MJF in a singles match? Would you rather face Malachi Black? I want no parts of that guy. He is a destroyer of worlds. And I mean in the ring. I don't mean hocus pocus and lore and bullshit. Like, that dude systematically takes people apart and tells great stories while doing so. Like, from Cody to destroying him in 4 minutes to Brock Anderson to Arn, not in a match, but you get my point, to Lee Johnson to this Dustin match. And I thought this match was a great match. I'm probably giving like 3 3/4 stars. I thought that Dustin, it'll be 2030 and he'll still be able to work his ass off. Like the stuff they came up with and decided like to start that match hot that way, end up outside the ring to getting basically the Randy Orton back suplex spot through the table. He makes it back in. Dustin mounts a comeback. Malachi cuts him off with calf kicks. Tries to run him with Irish whip. He can't make it. Dustin fights back, ends up getting going for a power bomb. Can't lift him because of the bad knee. Malachi goes for a back body drop. Dustin turns the back body drop to a sunset flip for a cover. Like I just they're just excellent wrestlers, workers, storytellers. They have all that in their game, and those two together were great. And like I love Cody getting squashed by Malachi. I love that 4-minute match, like what happened all in it and what led to the finish. Malachi Black is like he's you see how he was positioned as NXT champion in NXT, and you see how he was at that point the top babyface after Gargano turned heel on him, and then you see how where he is now in like since I think it was July 4th weekend, and you're like Triple H and Tony Khan seem to know what the hell to do with him. This man did not. And I'm just interested to see what's next after this Cody thing. But I think you look at social media and you look at the announcement tweet about that match at Arthur Ashe. You look at Fightful reporting also their neutral tweet about the fact that match is happening at Arthur Ashe, and you see the replies. People are like, Cody should not win. We will riot. And it's overwhelmingly like Malachi should go over and beat this dude. And like but Cody has made himself, he's a top star that has positioned himself on the card as a mid-carder since day one. If he comes back and he just does what he did with Brody Lee, that takes a lot of steam out of what Malachi Black's doing, because like that's somebody that should definitely, like, after this Cody Rhodes thing, go on to a Darby, go on to a CM Punk, go on to a Daniel Bryan, and any other, or go on to Adam Page. Like, you don't think Adam Page, like, coming back from paternity leave is somebody that needs, like, somebody that can jumpstart him and get him on track to eventually Kenny Omega? Like, I think that you should save the eventual loss for Malachi Black for somebody that, you know, could eventually become the champion. And Cody Rhodes, like, not even just in right now as far as car plays, but like also in kayfabe, he can't do that right now. So it'd be, I feel like it would be a waste of time. But like, this match was excellent, and like Malachi Black, every time, you know, he's scheduled for a match, I just can't wait at this point with him. He's 4 for 4, whatever. Like, every single segment he's been on, every single week, he's knocked it out of the park for me.
Yeah, it's like just following the rule book of NXT. Just book him to beat the living crap out of people. Be an absolute badass. Just keep up that aura. Don't debut him as Ricochet. Look at these guys doing cool flips. Like, no, it's just removed all of the aura. Just, yeah.
The crazy part about that was even that at the start worked out. Like, they were undefeated and they were having an exciting tag match, and they didn't win at WrestleMania, and then they broke up that team for no good reason. And once they broke them up, they had nothing for either one of them, really. But whatever, it's just like, that dude is just really good in this position as Malachi Black, with like the entrance and the way he just beats the hell out of people. Like, I can't wait till like there's a Moxley match or other programs I mentioned, like that. The dude seems like they're positioning him to be a top of the card guy in the future, and like, I'm really happy because I've always liked him from the first time I ever saw him wrestle. And like, this is almost like validation. Like, when Moxley showed up in AEW to now, like, that's validation as a person, as a fan of these people, and like, see, like, it feels like these people are being put in suboptimal positions creatively, and to see all these people flourish, like, this is further validation. See Malachi Black doing this right now, for me.
Yeah, it's going to keep happening as well, just with the... Yeah. Especially as, I guess, like, the PWG kind of crew just all comes back together.
Seemingly, yeah. Seemingly.
Yeah. I don't even have to say the name of the next one, or the next two, possibly. But everyone would immediately know who they are. It screams that it just makes sense. They were part of this very similar vision. So it makes... And they're all very creative people who love professional wrestling. So to leave a place that kind of makes them very financially sound, but kind of strips that other part away. It was like, yeah. I mean, I don't mind the idea of what Brian Pillman sold. It would be so good if I brought this up later. But so it would be an amazing transition. But no, I'm talking about Punk next. But with Brian Pillman, what he told Bischoff is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over to WWF. And I'm going to become a big star there so that I can come back to WCW and make a huge impact. It's just amazing. I don't mind the idea of, as in, what if Stevenson does this? Goes to AEW, becomes a huge name, then goes to AEW to actually succeed and be good. As in, you become a star, then take all of that to somewhere you can actually be booked well. I'm fine with that, if you want to go that route. I mean, it's going to be the land of the big boys after a certain amount of time. But currently, it's a mix. It's a mix currently. So yeah, get ready for that 80s style of the Big E wet dream. It's gonna happen. Just,
The problem isn't the size of the wrestlers. The problem is the wrestling style in WWE. Like, if you're Drew McIntyre or you're Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns is like does a little bit less rest holds and slowing down the matches or whatever else. Like, you're perfectly fine. But there's how many of those are there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
in WWE that have been well traveled like a Drew McIntyre has, because of after he got fired from WWE the first time to go to hit the Indies and then come back with a whole new mindset on how to wrestle for a modern crowd, while still appeasing to what Vince McMahon wants, or someone that's been on top for a long time and has been, you know, almost from day one been groomed into being able to have the experience like Roman Reigns. Like, there's not that many guys that are like plus 240, you know, that have that kind of thing. So like, for them to, if they want to fill the PC up with crosses and Keith Lees and maces and Dijaks, fine. But it's just like wrestling one style will not make you a better worker necessarily. And like, if you only wrestle for one company and that's the only viewpoint of it, like I mean, just look at what changed the wrestling business with like the guys in WCW, the cruiserweights. Like all those guys, all the best Super Junior people were well traveled. Benoit, Eddie, Ray, Jericho, Lance Storm, Malenko, all those people went around the world to hone that craft, and then you take it back. And then like you look at what happened with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, people wrestled around the world. Kevin Owens wrestled around the world. Finn Balor wrestled around the world. Like it's not rocket science. Like this is a really hard job. The more experience you have wrestling a bunch of different styles gives you more tools in the bag whenever you need them to tell whatever story you need. And just, being in the warehouse in Seven Rings and there's 100 other people, good luck.
Yeah,
like the fact that we gotta be on Belair is in Big E's is actually like the real thing. Like they probably weren't even supposed to make it be that good, given that situation, that circumstance.
Yeah, personally for me, I like the idea of AEW and WWE both presenting different kinds of wrestling. It's like a big gripe of when TNA were chasing WWE was trying to book like WWE and take notes from them, when in reality being different is what got them to the dance. And it feels like AEW they've learned lessons from those past eras from WCW of what not to do. And yeah, I like the idea of two different ways of booking wrestling. I'm fine with that. Obviously, my main take on WWE is I would be fine watching it if the TV shows made any sense. But they don't. Continuity drops after 2 or 3 weeks. More often than not, you find yourself going, oh, but didn't you say this? Or something like that, just something small. Or something will run, it'll feel formulaic. Or when someone's cutting a promo, it just feels like a script, so I can't buy into it. There's weird production decisions. There's so many segments not thought through. Like, the 2 examples I'll give. One was the Irish interviewer walking up to Matt Riddle like a crab. It's just that was caught on camera. As in, the interviewers have to make themselves look shorter. So the Matt they had a wide shot. As in, I made a GIF of this, put it on Twitter, and it blew up. I was getting so many different retweets from people. it was crazy. But so they decided to do a wide shot down the hall of sad Matt Riddle walking towards the camera, and then the interviewer walks up to him. But the interviewer can't be taller than the wrestler, so he has to do a little squat. So he walks up to him. But they decided on this wide shot, so it means that the interviewer is caught crouching and then walking sideways. So I'm
looking at it right now. That's that is.
Yeah.
And not only does he have to walk up crouching, he has to walk up like while also facing the camera. So it's like it's very sterile.
So
it's very sterile.
For me, that's a sign of not thinking it through or types of production. You've not really planned it, type of thing. As in, you've not allowed enough time to plan it out and think it through. It's a sign of not thinking it through. So you do the wide shot. You know you've got to have the interviewer crouch. So what do? You just do a close-up shot on Riddle. You don't have the wide shot and capture everything. The end of. You don't need to do anything like that. But no, they capture all of it. This week, a different kind of smaller thing where when they decide to plug certain things, when do you do it in the show, when's the best time? If you've not thought it through, you go, why not do it here type of thing, just throw it in, which they did this week with one saying they plugged Connor's Cure whilst Karrion Kross's theme was playing in the background. And I'm just like,
oh Jesus!
I'm just like, if you think that through,
desolence, you cannot. The end is that is that's kind of dark. Yeah, it's kind of dark.
And they're all doing the serious voices, like, please, can you just donate to council, go to connorskill.com type of thing, like serious message, which genuinely should have the time dedicated to it. It's good that it's good at dedicating time to talking to the camera about this. But because they didn't think it through, there's a woman shouting to fall and pray behind them whilst they're plugging it. And I brought this up on the review on Tuesday. I was just like, just think it through. But this is a sign that they're not thinking it through. Then I switched to AEW, and every single segment, everything they do, has been thought through because they've thought about it before the day itself. It's as simple as that.
Virtually everything.
So you're not going to get stuff like that.
Like, obviously Cole came out of the heel tunnel, but when he debuted at All Out, but like for them to say, hey, like he's about to do the Adam Cole baby, and the crowd's gonna pop for it. Like, what will maximize that pop? Hey, let's turn on this entrance music so you can feel the full sound of that. Like just basically enveloping the entire arena. Like they do a lot of things. Like my when AEW gets itself in trouble is because they almost try to do too many things all at once. But like for the most part, like they think things through or think about like the total picture pretty well. Like I have an issue with their camera production at times, but generally that's more of an American thing. Like I just wish everything was more or less like shot like New Japan or Stardom, or that team that also does Stardom as well as New Japan. But outside of that, like I don't really have many complaints. Like sometimes I'll think, maybe I wouldn't have done that or that's not my thing. But like you generally see an honest effort for them. They actually care. That's the best way to put it. They actually care. And in WWE at times they're like they feel like yada yada whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I'm not saying AEW don't make mistakes. They do. They'll be for different reasons. They're not going to make a mistake because they haven't thought something through, which is like a main contributor to WWE's problems. And compared to AEW, where if they're going to make a mistake, it's going to be for a different reason. And they do make them.
Yeah,
it does
because they thought too hard.
Yeah, there's the other side of it. So yeah. Anyway, so CM Punk. Let's talk about CM Punk. Also, before we moved on to CM Punk, that's when we got our Lucha Bros little promo. And just reminding you, they had a fantastic match and became champions. Anyway, CM Punk, a ball of excited energy. Just as pumped for Mox and Suzuki as the rest of us, as CM Punk suddenly becomes the show's hype man. Just going, look at all this, guys. It's so good. Asking the crowd who should face next. Oh, actually, before I get onto that, pointing out Aunt Linda from Dark Side of the Ring on the Brian Pillman episode, and I think he just saw her in the audience was just like, no, I'm gonna tell her that she's an angel for doing what she did, which I. Yeah, it was the fact that it was a nice feel good moment. Obviously, setting it up for later for MJF.
That's what I was getting at. Like, they highlighted her so that MJF can then go get heat on her. Yes. Yeah.
But the way that it was all done felt organic in the moment. Like he was just picking her out of the crowd at the time. And clearly the Dark Side of the Ring guys didn't know anything about that. Their reactions to it was quite cool. Because obviously they were just marking out that, oh, CM Punk watched our show. Oh, man. Type of thing. So that was awesome. But yes. But one of my favourite... Taz, for me, gave me multiple moments that I loved him for on this show. First one is when he interrupts CM Punk here. So asking the crowd... Punk just asking the crowd who should face next, and he goes to different sections to saying different names. I really like that idea for it. And then Taz just interrupts him from commentary saying, don't you ever mention any member from Team Taz. Get their names out of your mouths. And Punk's just like, I mean, I didn't. Like, literally nobody. I just thought that was so good. And that brings out Hobbs and Hook out with their muscles as Punk pleads to Taz just to send them down. Come on, do it. It looks like Punk's feuding with Team Taz. Does that excite... I mean, obviously going to build to Ricky Starks, and... That's Punk wrestles another hot upcoming star in AEW, but does the idea of this feud excite you?
I like it for the fact that it gets him it'll get him some wins. It gets him in the ring with some people that really need that kind of big level experience. Like Hobbs and Starks are two people that like, we talk about that. There are two people that like in the long term for the company, it would help them. It would help them a lot and give them a lot of goodwill if they actually did something with someone like Starks. So Starks can talk his ass off. And Starks also is a good wrestler. Hobbs is somebody that you think like in time could be like a big time, muscle hoss person that go along with the Miros and the I guess for lack of a word, Kingston's or Wardlow. So I think that long term, like this will benefit them being in the ring with someone that has that kind of experience, even though he is the quote unquote, less his knife is less sharpened right now. But like in time, like it will definitely pay off. And I think that Team Taz needs a bit of a profile boost. Like, I love Cage as far as a wrestler, but like the Team Taz thing went off the start, like when with Taz and Moxley was really cool, but like they turned into one of those lower factions in AEW really quickly. So I think that and it's not for the talent because like I just mentioned. So I think that this definitely helps. And Punk mentioned he wants to hook. He wants to lock up with Hook, which is funny because like I don't get the memification of Hook. I just think like I think I don't know if it's because he's taller than Taz or what, but like I just think he's just some kid that just So like if this is for his first match with CM Punk, that'd be cool. Like that's a cool memory. Like, hey, my first match with CM Punk.
I mean, Rich got him over with me. Just the Hook is a goon stuff. That just got him over with me immediately.
He's just a part of it. Like there is an agenda going on. Like there are a lot of agendas going on online with wrestling these days. But like the Hook thing is definitely there. Because I just don't personally get it. But I think I do find it humorous though.
This is CM Punk was like saying in all of his interviews and things like the feuds with the guys he's already wrestled don't interest him. He wants to be wrestling all this new upcoming talent, and going from Darby Allin to Ricky Starks, Hobbs, Hook. That's just, well, maybe not Hook, but that does excite me, and that then led us into our next match. I am forgetting about two segments there. We had a little break beforehand. We got Santana and Ortiz coming after those titles. So even though there was no tag team scene building matches on this show, they specifically had promos telling you what the situation is, like who are going to be the big players coming out of All Out. We also got Ruby Soho backstage with Tony asking about her open challenge that Hayter has accepted. Britt Baker interrupting her, saying, why don't you go back to catering where we're spending the past 4 years? It just absolutely destroys her. Ruby in herself was not really falling for any of the talk, still staying tough. And just talking to Shivani afterwards, like, I know she's your girl, Tony, but I'm going to whoop her ass. So it sets it up for later as well. Dancing the line of Britt Baker is super over, but she's still the heel. I feel like they balanced that line quite well on this show. Because it's a question of seeing raves, where Baker is so over, is it wise to keep her as strongly heel in the way that she's done? But I think the decision is, we're just going to keep doing what's gotten her over. They're not going to actually change anything, really. Maybe small adjustments, which I think is the way AEW prefers to do it. Like, if she's going to turn, it's going to be gradual. It's not going to, one time, just walk out and go, I'm a good guy now. Like, she's not going to do that.
It's going to be Jamie trying to pop her head with her bicep. That's what's going to happen.
Somebody said they didn't know if they wanted to be friends with Hayter, to train with her, or marry her. They couldn't tell which one they wanted to do. It's just... I will say, in terms of like the change from her AEW kind of initial view to what she's now becoming her return, it's like a different person almost. Like on Twitter, I did see that she would always constantly post that she's like doing the workouts and stuff, and then look how much muscle I'm putting on. But it would also always be like, I don't know, just like a quick gym shot or something, and I'd just quickly scroll past it. I'm not really paying full attention. But then she came out, I was like, oh, that's why you were posting those. Oh, okay, suddenly I get it. Like, yeah, you have become a beast.
Yeah, she won the pandemic in the same way that, like, Pete Dunne won the pandemic. Like, there have been a few people that have, like, just, Ethan Page also won the pandemic. Like, there are a lot of people that had, hell, Chris Statlander won the pandemic. There are a lot of people that, like, were away or couldn't wrestle or what have you, and they decided to invest that time they had into their bodies, and it's paid off for a lot of them, and she's one of them, definitely. As a person that watched her in Stardom for almost entire year, like I think highly of her as a off the cuff promo. I think highly of her as a worker. I think highly of her as a power wrestler. So she's now is the muscle for Britt, but I think that like in her own way, like there could be like Wardlow potential for her down the line. I'm not necessarily thinking to that level. Like I think Wardlow is like literally like AEW's Batista in waiting, and like the MJF thing is Triple H Batista waiting to happen. But like I could see like Britt or like once it goes left or whatever happens with Hayter and Britt, like Hater becomes a huge foundational piece for that division.
Yeah, it's another future acquisition that's just going to pay off dividends in the end. But before we get to that later stuff, Powerhouse Hobbs with Hook faced Dante Martin, and all eyes on them. AEW choosing to showcase two of their most promising young talents. Just, bravo, well done, fantastic. And everybody with the question of, what are they going to do now? They've got all these big names. How are they going to fit people onto these shows like this? Just going to do it like this. They're going to rotate people. Like they said, I mean, what they've been doing since day one, and because of me, again, that question was another sign of, well, yeah, I understand the AEW got a lot of new fans with the whole CM Punk stuff. And the whole of these new acquisitions. There are a lot of people who weren't watching AEW and now jumping on board. But yeah, this is one of the things you'll learn pretty quickly. Is that the rotation system really does work. It keeps people fresh. Because scarily enough, the audience doesn't have a goldfish memory. We will remember things. It makes sense. That's how we can follow TV shows. Like we've done it for years. Where we're absolutely fine. And what a pairing this was. Huge power versus agility. A few notes. Jesus Christ, can Dante jump? That jumping dropkick. Like, wow. Incredible height on that. And Hobbs as well, looking like an absolute beast. There was one spot where Dante went to do a dive to the outside and Hobbs caught him, but it was timed so perfectly well that Dante just had his feet hooked on the ropes, and it looked so natural, like he really had just caught him mid-dive. But for Dante to actually pull that off, like both of you, like round of applause. Say they're that young and they're putting off stuff like this as well. But in the end, Hobbs winning with the spine buster, seemingly knocked a tad out of it by be it the dive, be it a kick, be it whatever. It was seemingly he found his big boy strength to hit that spine buster, but it was a bit messy. It was a bit okay. Let's just stumble to the finish. Something's obviously not right here. But yeah, he seemed to like relatively more fine afterwards, kind of pose and stuff. But yeah, a really nice showcase from AEW to put these young stars in a match like this on a show which got a huge viewing in 1.3 million.
Yeah, Dante. I don't think Dante needs to go through the punishment that Darby has put himself through to get to where he is, but I do think there is a role for him right now with Darius out, as him being the suffering baby face that just goes out there and puts his heart out there and does incredible feats of athleticism and leaping ability and like basically wears an ass whooping, and eventually over time like he starts picking up wins. I think there is a role for him as fitting into that right now in the company. And like he's gonna do some sensational things. Like that spot you just mentioned, like that was like, whoa, that's crazy. But like you mentioned, the end it stumbled to a weird halt and grinded to a weird halt until the finish. But like get Hobbs to win because Hobbs looked impressive beating the hell out of Dante. And then you set him up for eventual match with CM Punk over the next couple weeks or whatever else. And that's kind of how it's done everywhere except for one other promotion. It's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, all logical sense, no questions, Ivana. It's all good. So next up, MJF speaks. I can't repeat most of what he said because we're on YouTube. But it was fantastic. Like, on a night with like CM Punk hyping up the crowd and everything, MJF stole the show in terms of promo work and that kind of segments on the show. The crowd immediately bombarding him with "You tapped out." The match on Sunday was restarted because of extreme bias against him, and the crowd are against him because they're from the biggest dumpster fire in the world in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's just completely running them down and agitating the crowd like really, really well. When running down the ringside Pillmans took place, which is like, there were just some vicious stuff in there. I'm just going, well, hey you, 16 and pregnant. What are you? And then like, I let you know I'm the daughter of Brian Pillman. It's like, well, that explains your bad looks. Which I just thought, it's just vicious MJF. Which brought out the Brian Jr. interruption, which I thought Brian Pillman Jr. did a really good job here. He felt like the way he delivered it felt like he was getting caught up in the hype and kind of just motivated himself. Like he got over ambitious, we'll say, and just charged the ring, and it fed off the energy of the crowd incredibly well. And he seemed to just keep that heat as well. The backstage segment too, where they set up his match for Rampage and for MJF at Arthur Ashe too. This was one of the examples I was talking about earlier on how to play to a hometown crowd slightly differently. The way that they did this, it was so damn perfect. The crowd responded so incredibly well, and the whole segment was fantastic. Yet another showcase of AEW's young talent. We've got Brian Pillman responding with fire as MJF is lashing out with verbal fury at everybody. And another note on that would be his relationship with Wardlow, which we touched upon a little bit throughout this show. A big note in him lashing out at Wardlow, where Wardlow afterwards was like the large human male still helped when Pillman attacked, but he didn't do it like immediately. He kind of just strolled over. It was like, I'm not gonna rush to help MJF. I thought that was such a fantastic way to have him respond, still do his duties, still actually help MJF, but he wasn't like super keen to do so. He wasn't running to his side. He's like, evidently the boss has pissed him off type of stuff. But yeah, everybody in this segment did their role absolutely fantastically. And they got the Ohio crowd extremely hyped for Brian Pillman Jr., who hasn't really before this had any promo work really. You've had maybe the plucky babyface to video interview thing. Geez, I'm gonna do my best to beat that team, like stuff like that. He might as well have had that accent with what he was saying.
Yeah, like I am a grown adult and I am wearing a varsity jacket. Like I'm still in high school. Yeah, I really like this segment. I thought this was the best talking segment MJF has had in seemingly months. Like right place, right time, right insults for the right city. It works. Like, and also the fact that like you do that because you know you're going to give Moxley the big win in the main event. Like I felt like this perfectly plays into like how you play a crowd. Like the only thing he didn't do good enough, in my opinion, was he didn't shit on the Bengals enough. But I mean, he did mention the Reds like stinking for the last 30 years, so good enough.
Whilst I'm sitting here going sports reference.
Oh, the football team is the Bengals, the Reds are the baseball team.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. As in, as soon as MJF said that, I was like, well, I'm assuming the sports team did a sports thing. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, because I forgot. American football, not real football. Sorry.
I think I know the American football teams better than I know the American soccer teams. Because American soccer, I've watched Super Bowls in the past. I've semi-kept up with leagues. I've not...
Okay.
As in, it's been quite when I was at university, from 2011 to 2014, and I'm putting late nights quite a bit. When you're kind of that age, it's kind of perfect to do it. Watching the Super Bowl was like the kind of a thing to stay up for. It was when the Saints were winning, like that era. I think the last one I watched was when...
2009. 2010 is the year they won, but
that's the first one I watched. I was before university I started it then. So yeah, it was maybe like a 4 or 5 year stretch I kept up, and then I just fell off. Like, left university, wasn't watching it with the same lot. It's like, by myself, it's not the same. Then there are things called, like, I don't know if you've heard of them, like jobs, and you have to get up. Suddenly, the Super Bowl is on very late over here, and it's not an event over here in the UK. It's even like really worth like recording, staying up with everybody, experiencing it, watching everybody laugh at the halftime show, or enjoy the halftime show, whatever it is. So yeah, it's not the same watching it afterwards where you've seen little notes or pictures or whatever. So yeah. But yes, this segment was fantastic. It wasn't the Super Bowl. MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. setting up their match for Arthur Ashe incredibly well as setting up the Rampage little match for Brian Pillman Jr. as well. Oh, also they beat up Griff Garrison. So there's your extra little heat reason for Brian Pillman Jr. to want to go after MJF. Not only did he go after his state, not only did he go after his family, but also his fellow blonde, which leads us into the match on Friday. Which then leads us into the next match to talk about, which is Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho. Oh no, I've knocked everything down for the bit. It wasn't worth it. Oh, God. The whole camera angle's off. I've knocked the stand. Oh, I forgot how big the acoustic
Do it again.
was.
Do it again. Encore.
Oh. There you go. No words that time. I need to concentrate putting the guitar down. Right, there we go. I'm going to do that bit every time now. I've not thought that through. I've not thought it through.
Good luck.
So, what a feel-good... I've nailed the feel-good feeling that Ruby Soho's little introduction's given us. So, what a feel-good little introduction it has been for Ruby Soho. A wrestler with clear talent that WWE just refused to care about, really. The height of her main roster run was a throwaway filler pay-per-view match against Ronda Rousey at like Fastlane, where it was just Ronda Rousey needed an opponent. She couldn't really face anybody big because everyone they cared about was going to have a match at WrestleMania. So it was like, fine, we'll throw Ruby at her. She can beat Ruby. There we go. And that was Ruby Riot's biggest moment. Never really got anything additional. This year at WrestleMania, eliminated pretty quickly in the tag team thing as well. So I think that's her only title match. Or only title match.
I feel like she had... I could have sworn she had a match with either Charlotte or Becky for a title on pay-per-view once. And like either Charlotte or Becky, they just didn't have it that night. But the match layout was for them to have a really good match. It just didn't happen. And it wasn't, and it was the others. It's one of the horsewomen's fault. I'd have to pull it up and look through the cage match to find it though.
But just seeing the excitement here as well and the way that the fans reacted to her, it felt like another example of a talent that WWE didn't really care about, but the fans did. And the amount of people, where just her natural ability as a really likable person, is like, it kind of just is. Well, we talked about it earlier that WWE doesn't have room for to try and book really nice people. Like, look at Mustafa Ali, like one of the most genuinely, and they just don't know how to book a person like that. As in terms of when I look at the WWE roster, and it's like, yes, there are the PWG names that are still there. I'd love to see the likes of Cesaro, the likes of Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens in AEW. I would love to see the PWG lot just all kind of migrate to AEW as that kind of crowning of that era. However, the other name that really jumps out to me is Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali screams a guy who's just underappreciated in WWE when AEW would see him as they treat him as the kind of star that we're kind of seeing him as. And yeah, there's quite a few people and Ruby Riot's one of those people who was just on the sidelines in spite of the clear talent that was there. Never really used, not really given much of an opportunity, and then was just there in the women's tag scene. I mean, just take this week's Raw for what even matters with the tag scene anymore. Like, it's just that the tag scene that the Riot Squad were in, where it's the most generic booking of a tag team title match you'll ever see. It's currently happening with the women's tag team scenes. Like, every single next feud is the same, where it's, to book them, we need them to beat the champions. Then they do the one-on-one matches for both sides, and then they lose to the champions at the pay-per-view. End of. There is no further kind of booking, nothing further past that. And see that the Riot Squad weren't even the team that would win the match to then face a champion. It's just like, oh God. And then Liv Morgan's gotten a bit more attention recently. A little push towards Money in the Bank before disappearing as well. Do you know Tony Storm's on the main roster? It's just like, what is going on? Quite often with all this stuff. They book some parts of that division well and other parts they don't even use, which is an interesting one. But this match itself, it turns out, for me, well, the main takeaway for me from this match was, it turns out when fans are genuinely into what you're serving, they're more willing to let the in-ring wobbles slide. Like, with WWE, you see it all the time, like, how cruel they are to some of the wrestlers when there is a genuine muck-up. It feels like, oh no, it's gone wrong. Here, the fans didn't care. They just kept enjoying the show. So it turns out when there's more to chew on, when there's more there to bite, they're not going to be as critical when there's a mistake. There's I don't know, there's more goodwill, they're more into what's happening. I just felt it with this match. The crowd didn't turn on anything. It was like, oh, there's quite a big mistake there, and the kind of running from the kind of go home stuff. Yeah, it just didn't quite click the same. It didn't quite click right, and then we kind of got with the ending with the kind of slight error. I'll word it as. Yeah, it didn't really matter. Like, for me, I felt a bit like seemingly top-notch on-the-spot improvisation as it was going just completely wrong. As Ruby's reverse... Well, I don't know if it was reverse Rana or if it was the get Alabama slammed into the kind of curl turnbuckle. It was one of the two.
It almost seemed like they were going for a reverse Rana attempt that got thwarted because of the strength of Jamie, and then Jamie was going to Alabama slam her into the turnbuckle in the corner. But either way, like it just went all cattywampus, and it was bad. But luckily, that was it was towards the very end of the match. It kind of in that way was similar to the Hobbs and Martin match, where it was just like, oh, okay, like it's going pretty well, and then like one thing happened, and you're right, like they have in WWE, like if you make like one mistake, like you're almost done for.
Yeah, well, that's the pressure. Yeah.
You seem if you're not over anyway, you're seemingly done for. So the fact that like Ruby is really liked right now, and I that definitely helped, and like no doubt about it. You're right.
Yeah. So it was up on the shoulders, and Hayter just seemed to lose balance, kind of fall backwards, and they somehow improvised into falling forwards in it's like a front-faced slam type thing. And yeah, the crowd reacted like it was on purpose in terms of an improvisation after an improvisation, and they didn't mind. They didn't care. They're biting on what they're serving. Doesn't really matter. Ruby winning with I'll call it a Riot kick. I missed what they call it. Ruby kick. Soho kick. It's not the Riot kick anymore. Or is it Riot with one T? So now it's fine. It skirts that kind of WWE trademark stuff. Post-match beatdown, Rio runs out, making her Dynamite return, if I'm right. Shortly followed by Statlander with a chair, fending off the villains before... I don't know if I didn't see this correctly the way that they ended the segment, but I could have sworn they were both just sitting on Chris Statlander's knee as the music played. I don't know if it was just Rio.
No. Because of the beatdown that Ruby got, one of them opened the chair for Ruby to sit down on, and then as she's sitting there with her new buddies, Rio took a knee on Statlander's knee, which is funny because like I've only ever seen that. I only ever see that in Stardom with like Nasty Boy and Himeka or Nasty Boy and Shuri, because like obviously Rio is adorable, but like I didn't know they're stealing people's adorable gimmicks from other people, but it happened.
Also, Taz moment of the night with him just singing the Ruby Soho theme to end the segment. He's just going Ruby, 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 Ruby Soho. See, having the time of his life. I was like, yeah, a couple of times. Taz was just great. Such a bundle of joy he was.
Yeah, like Taz is an underrated addition in AEW since day one. Like him on Dark has been really good. Like he's one of my favorite AEW announcers.
And Excalibur off getting married, so he's got a few times off, and Taz filling in, and yeah, he was a joy on this show. he was absolutely perfect for it. Before moving on, K Black D Enigma says, I definitely want KO to leave. I've hated how they booked him since they had him running from Braun. KO is supposed to be a badass like Samoa Joe. It's like, yes, 100%. Well, again, just take the notes of what NXT did, which was exactly that, the Fight Owens Fight character, which was the exact Kevin Owens badass, and then he comes to the main roster, and it looked good to start off with, but he became like yet another person that does the John Cena 3-match pay-per-view routine, but that means the new person doesn't get put over. Or was it, oh, but you're facing John Cena, that gets you over. Yeah, but there's no follow-up plan afterwards, so now what? Type of thing.
I think that Kevin Owens is perfectly fine and well positioned as one of the few immediate success stories out of the NXT 2 main roster pipeline. And then after WrestleMania 33, once the Jericho thing kind of ended, that was kind of the beginning of the end. Like it was so weird that like Kevin Owens and AJ Styles didn't just like knock it out the park immediately. And then you ended up, I think it's 2018 is when you started doing the Braun Strowman porta potty stuff and everything. And his babyface run in 2019 got thwarted because of the Kofi Mania thing took off the way it did, and they turned him back heel immediately. So there's a lot of weird things that are like I wouldn't necessarily say it's completely the promotion or creative's fault, but like it did stink to see him like after being presented so well the first couple years, like kind of just fall back into that mid card, that gigantic pool of mid carders in WWE.
It is an absolute shame, and I just see it again, seeing the kind of swerve, the change of the tide with these PWG guys all going towards AEW. It's the kind of thing where it just feels natural, where the kind of all would eventually fall there. Maybe, I think the only one maybe might be Cesaro. But that said, I don't know if part of that is just because they have kind of now and then kind of showcasing him a little bit, like this year facing Roman Reigns before just being dropped to the mid card again. He's nothing now if he's featured at all. Like a trusted veteran on the show rather than anything spectacular. And I mean, again, the PWG guys it just makes sense AEW to kind of promote the kind of wrestling they are. It's the kind of wrestling they were wrestling on the indies 10 years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if more of those names go over. We'll see. But yeah, tangents. I've got to stop these tangents. Actually, get to the main card. So,
well, I mean, we listener question. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
As opposed to some of the stuff I do, like, that's way below the pale of, or not as bad as stuff we normally get into. Now we're talking about digressing. So let's get back to the lecture right here.
It's like the BBC doing a report, an apologising report on reporting on the snow too much. It was just,
oh wow.
Yeah, we had like a mass amount of it, and it was a crazy amount. But almost every just on the BBC, they just turn it on, and all the time we're going, guys, there's a lot of snow. Let's have a report of the snow. How are you doing the snow, John? It's really cold. There's lots of snow. Thanks for telling us, John. It was that like all day, and then eventually they had to air an apology for talking too much about the snow. It's just amazing. Anyway, Pinnacle versus Dark Order. FTR and Sean Spears, accompanied by Tony Blanchard, versus Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and John Silver. The next little chapter in, I guess, for both of them. This actually works as a nice little quick match for both entities to spin off of into the directions that they need to next. A fun little six-man tag as we got to see Johnny Hungy's Fire for the first time, I think since that multi-man with Hangman. The Pinnacle winning with an FDR hoist into a Spears Death Valley driver. And that, again, a nice little win as Dark Order's disarray continues to fray. The two halves of opinion ever since Hangman took his time off to go. And it's kind of like organically just kind of built step by step. The two halves in the stable finally coming to blows as Anna Jay is almost falling into the default parent of the group as they all just keep falling out and having their problems. And I don't know if it's the way that she was presented was almost always as like a number two next to Brody Lee, but she was always the quiet one. She would never actually have to verbalise anything, mostly because Brody Lee was already there. Why would she need to? But now that the group is just falling out, like she's the one that feels like she's the voice of reason for all of this that's going on. But I just love the way it all stems from Hangman leaving as well.
So, I guess I was going to ask you. So obviously Grayson and Uno are on the side of give Adam the space, and he wants to be away. Let him go through whatever he's dealing with. And then obviously you have Silver and Reynolds that want to not listen to their friends' wishes because they feel like they know better because he is spiraling in a way. What it seems like it, but I don't really know. Are 10 and Preston and also Cabana, are they just neutral people just hopes that those two forces on opposite ends just don't fight and they're trying to break up them fighting? Is that what it is?
I think Cabana is. I think 10 and Angels They are on one of the sides.
I forgot about Ten and Angels.
Yeah.
So what side are they on?
I can't remember. They're on one of the sides.
Because there was so much scrapping going on after the match. I forgot. I just know for sure that like the Smash Brothers are on one side and Silver Reynolds on the other.
Yeah. They're the kind of key two, really. The others, it's an even number. I think is what they were going for, but I can't remember which of the lower ones are on which side. But yeah, it's like an even split within the group of who wants to side with Hangman and not do anything, lay it like the Superman Brothers, or who wants to actually like, but no, but he's our friend. As you were saying, like clearly he's spiraling. We need to do something here, and yeah, I like how it is spinning that way. And now we finally got Conti and Dana J finally kind of back integrated with the group. There is this kind of outside two people who have come in to see this who on either side and do want the fighting to kind of stop, which is a nice little note that the Dark Order themselves are spiraling with along with the whole Page thing, and maybe Page returning is the thing to save them, or they can actually save themselves. Well, to be fair, Page doesn't even have to join them. Page can just say a sentence, and I trust AEW enough for that sentence to sort out the Dark Order to make them realise. Just say, oh, it's all okay, guys. Their storylines are often quite heartfelt, and they lead to like a nice place. And yeah, we got our amazing entrance with Hangman and the Dark Order. I don't even know if we need Hangman to properly join them again after that. We got our moment, and it was beautiful. Anyway, afterwards we got Tully backstage with Tony Schiavone asking Tony Khan to book Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin next week, and Sting, a time will come when it's just you and me. Is it building to Tully versus Sting? I mean, we've already had Tully do a little wrestle once, I guess. Especially as it's like one match a year. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine with the older veterans having a match if it's in the middle of the card, and it's like 5 minutes, and it's once a year. Like, am I really going to complain? It's fine. It's perfectly fine. He's not going for the title. Look, it's all right.
I saw Big Show versus QT Marshall on All Out go 3 minutes and change. I would much rather see Sting and Tully.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well. sorry. That's where I am. Like, that's I'm just being real. I would much rather see two dudes that are 50 and 60 than QT Marshall versus Big Show. Sorry.
Yeah, I was also just like, don't particularly care. I guess this is a bit of a come down from the CM Punk match to get you ready, so you don't have to do the New Japan 10-15 minute headlock start or the slow kind of working into it. So no, you can hit the ground running with Omega Christian because you've already brought them down. But then the flip side of that is you did bring them down. Do you have to actually bring them down? So that's an interesting one. Also, after the ad break, that is when we got the Varsity Blondes in the trainer's room. A fire lit under Pillman as he announces he and MJF will fight at the Arthur Ashe show. The Acclaimed interrupting with genuine heartfelt roses, which definitely didn't have any undermining behind them. To tell the lad they've also politicsed to Tony. Caster and Pillman will wrestle this Friday on Rampage to a big pop from the Cincinnati crowd. They love that. But yes, then we got the whole segment with the Elite, which we've already talked about how amazing that was. Going in to the main event, where I was talking about this on Keeping It Strong Style with Jeremy Donovan, about Suzuki's debut at All Out. For me, it takes a lot to give me goosebumps in wrestling, to get that raw emotion from me. It takes a lot, but Suzuki's debut out on Sunday genuinely gave me goosebumps. It caught me so off guard. And for me, it's because there's two pops, and I think it's the second one that kind of... I'm set already after the first pop, but when the second one happens, there's a stirring amongst the crowd, and then Moxley, the camera works fantastic as Moxley kind of looks towards it. He does the Roman Reigns, ooh, what's going on here? But they do the wide shot afterwards, so it's fine. It's like, you don't then stay on Moxley. He is not the important thing right here. Then Minoru Suzuki's name comes up on the Titantron, and the crowd pop like crazy. And then they somehow pop even louder when he walks out. And that's the bit. Just those two things shortly after each other. the 1-2 punch of his name, then it's him. And the way the crowd reacted to that, it was magical. And the way they introduced him was amazing. And on the pay-per-view itself, just announcing, oh, by the way, we're going to air this free on TV on Wednesday. It's like, I'm sorry, what? You're not going to save this for Arthur Ashe? This is going straight into the show? Cool. Yeah, because all we knew was that Moxley was going to get a hometown little match in Ohio, like it's his place. We're going to do a big little thing. But for it to be Suzuki, suddenly this is a whole other level. The excitement was high. And we got ourselves a quick, big fight. What I mean is just lamping each other for 8 minutes. No letdown whatsoever. The previous match they've had in New Japan on high speed, just quickly going through the big punches. I would say in terms of reception, fans chanting "Holy shit" during Suzuki's entrance, and "This is awesome" after one forearm, which I thought was just, Suzuki's nailed it. He's of that school of maximum pop for minimal effort. Nailed it. He's had a long career, and this is why. Just absolutely nailing it. And yeah, they were just forearming each other for the first part of this match. And fair to say, AEW had a tad of a hot match on their hands where that is the reception for them doing, walking out and doing one forearm. And they're going mental. You have bloody nailed it. A few minutes in, they were just biting each other on the head. It's like, this is definitely a Moxley-Suzuki match. They were painting the picture that both of these guys are almost like a mirror of the same mental person. Which I like. That's a nice little note from Conte. And the match then descended into a headbutt battle. So yes, the New Japan coming over here to WWE. Jesus Christ, AEW. We're getting the headbutts. Suzuki bleeding over the right eye all the way down his face after it looked like a ton of miscommunication, and a lariat from Moxley ended up accidentally, genuinely clocking him a bit too hard. But if anything, that just added to it. It was soon after he's kicking out at one after the actual lariat, which was a great thing to pop for. These had a fast-forward battle, a dose of non-stop action of strikes and lariats, and Mox celebrating with his hometown fans to send us all home happy. What a notion! Pleasing the crowd with the homeboy win. What is this crazy concept? I would say I've seen some people not be that high in this match because of it was kind of short. They cut obviously, fans aren't going to be happy when he cut off Kaze Nina Rare. The live fans didn't seem to care that much. They were just into everything that was happening. Obviously, their boy came out next, so they're going to pop for Moxley. They're not really going to care that much. But still, it was one of the things on Fast Forward. If you've not watched a Suzuki-Moxley match before, then maybe you probably did enjoy this more because you don't know the other gears they also have in their pocket and when they face each other.
Oh my god.
Because this was very quick.
Every yearly, you know this, yearly, me and Rich and our contributors to our year-end recaps for the different promotions we cover, we have people put in their top 10 favorite matches from the each individual year for the promotion, and also we have them add in at the end of our award show in February or January their 10 favorite matches all around the world. Moxley versus Suzuki from last year was one of my 20 favorite matches. It didn't make the list, but as I was cutting down, it was inside of there. So this was not that match at the high end, but it was fun for a 12, 13, however long it went, minute match. They pretty much did the hits of what their awesome match was from last year, and it was fun. And Cosney and our raid, people not being able to scream that. We got that in Chicago, at least. But yeah, my only gripe is that it didn't go longer, and I still enjoyed the hell of the match. And you mentioned that they're kind of a mirror of each other. Their first match when from I think it was February last year, when they had that match at the end and Moxley won, and you see Suzuki on the floor smiling, it was almost like there's another person out here in the world that's as crazy as I am. I love their interactions. Somewhere down the line, I like to see them be a tag team or in some type of way. But yeah, they're really good together, and just watch them just trade forearms and just lariats and chokes and arm bars and PK. It was just fun.
a really fun main event match where there is more. And again, if you want to see, if you've not watched their work from New Japan, last February, I can't remember what the event was called. Well, probably a New Beginning show, and
I think it was.
Yeah, that's normally around February, that one. But yeah, the image I have kind of scarred in my head is the two just having a chairs battle, just swinging it at each other, just because they both have the same line of thought.
Remember where they were jousting with the plastic guardrails?
Yeah,
they're out of their minds. They're out of their minds. Like I love when Jon Moxley is wrestling some of the vets in New Japan. Like if it was up to me, I'm gonna have to try to convince and lobby for this. But so far, how it's going, like I want like Jon Moxley versus New Japan dads as like a feud of the year contender on One Nation Radio 2020 awards. Like I've loved his match with Yuji Nagata. I've loved his match with Kojima. I've loved this match that he had with Suzuki. And like hopefully there's more. Like obviously we don't necessarily consider him a dad, but given his age, like eventually we'll get a Tanahashi match, and that's gonna be a blast.
Yeah. I am also in that exact vein. Just, next on my list, like the one that the AEW fans are just waiting to happen is Ishii versus somebody. And given that Moxley is currently facing all of Japan, like why not? Why not have Ishii Moxley?
I mean, given the match they had in the G1 2 years ago, good lord.
Yeah, time is. I mean. The pandemic has just broken time. It's just the concept of
2 years ago or 10.
Yeah, it's a genuine other world. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
But that's the match that gave us Air Ishii. So yes, it was an incredible battle, that one. Two people where the idea of starting a match by walking to each other and just putting head to head before forearming is like perfect for those two. Absolutely perfect. For me, that's like the next one. But you can do that one before you do Tanahashi. Maybe Full Gear, if you're just going to have this be his arc to Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh my god. That would be beautiful.
I'm assuming Tanahashi and Moxley is set for Wrestle Kingdom purely because it's the way they're building
it. That's
what
we all think.
Yeah, the way they're holding it off, the kind of the timing that they're doing it with, as in the little subtle builds at their show where... the show that Jeremy went to, I forgot what it's, the Strong show.
Resurgence.
Yeah, that was it. So, having Tanahashi there, Moxley at ringside and stuff, like little side builds without doing it directly. I personally, I'm a massive fan of it. And, they got 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. I was talking about this with Jeremy. They got to fill it with something, so hopefully that foreign talent can come in. And it's not a great showing that the best match on the second night of your like big show was the Stardom one on the pre-show. It's not great. I worded it as they went full Usos. They just stole the show in the pre-show. Just it's like,
look, I'm not. Obviously, I am the Stardom guy, but I am not the Stardom guy that's going to blow smoke. Rich mission is like. Because Rich kind of like feels like vindicated because when we were previewing the 5-star Grand Prix that he thought that the Blue Block was going to outdo the G1 this year, and I was like, I don't know about all that, but given what these two shows have been and given what that card had looked like the deeper like the Blue Block is deeper than either one of the blocks in the A block or the B block this year, so he feels vindicated. And then he went on to mention that like. Hell, maybe they should give one of those 3 days to Stardom. I'll tell you right now, if Stardom got a Tokyo Dome show, they're not gonna fuck around. You're gonna get multiple great matches. You're not gonna have to worry about Evil being the main event and having all this bullshit going on right now. But yeah, it's cool to see Jon and Suzuki over here wrestling a bunch of different people for the next couple months. But but looking back at it, like you see those cards for the Grand or the G1, and you're just like, they really could have used Suzuki. Suzuki was like one of the 5 or 6 best wrestlers in the G1 last year. He's still awesome.
Oh, we gotta have Tamatonga versus Chase Owens. So you gotta have hype, big hype. You gotta get ready for Dark Horse. Back to the tournament. Anyway, that is the end of the review of the show. We did it. We got to the end. We didn't sidetrack too much for us. So one last question.
So,
you got one more note.
I was going to ask you a question. What do you think is next for Jon Moxley now?
I feel like this has been a nice
in
little...
AEW anyway.
So this has been like a nice little reset for him, where he can generally go anywhere. He can wrestle one of the new names. He can build up a young guy who's clearly got the potential, but just needs that feud. He can be that person as well. He could face Miro. He could face go for a title of some sort. He could do anything, or he can just continue his current crusade. There are so many different options for Moxley, and I mean, like currently, I think the next thing I've seen him advertised for is the first recording at Universal, where it's the super team of Darby Allin, Moxley. I mean, it could be Darby Allin for all I know. Like finally, kind of going back to that. But yeah, so it could be. So it's him, Eddie Kingston, Sting, and Darby Allin in a tag match at Universal Studios. So yeah, so he's doing that still, but I don't know what his big picture's really going to be. He's in a nice little spot where he can do anything really. Where he's had that little reset, he's got that momentum. So now what does he do? And we'll wait and see. Because I don't know what he's doing at Arthur Ashe. To be fair, he can just be in a nice little featured match at Arthur Ashe, or even just a multi-man tag, just to have the crowd be happy to see him. He doesn't need to go like anything crazy really. So yeah, I don't actually. Have you got any ideas?
No, I was just wondering because like he's kind of just free in the clear. Like, there was a while earlier in the year where I thought like they should just do Cody versus Moxley just because like, you know, they had kind of been treading water, and then obviously Malachi came in, that kind of changed things. So, you know, there's still room for that eventually because like, you know, put two of the best talkers in wrestling together and see what happens.
So one last question from the chat. With all the new big name talent coming in, do we think that AEW needs another championship? So for me personally, there's only one that I think would work really well, and that's a trios title.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
if they're going to add a title and like no singles titles, add a trios title.
Yeah,
Dark Order with Inner Circle, with the Elite, with Jurassic Express, like they're Team Taz, like they have tons of factions, and that was for a reason. I kind of wish they had one by now. Death Triangle's another one, like, you know. So yeah, that would be the one title that I would want in AEW. Outside of that, if it's another singles title, I think they should not do it. I think they should keep that.
Yeah, because you're in danger of doing what New Japan have done, kind of where you got so many singles titles where it's rare for all of them to be on a decent run. And right now in AEW, you're seeing your singles guys all be on great kind of footing and great runs. Whilst in New Japan, that's very rarely the case, that everybody's on like running really well. It happens quite often where they'll fall down for quite a while before, like they'll heat up for Wrestle Kingdom, but outside of that, quite often it's like hit and miss which ones have actually got momentum going.
Yeah, like if you see, because this promotion is depends on the promotion, right, and the talent you have through, you know, multiple titles that all work, singles titles all work. It just depends on like if you want to, what you want to do. Like for example, I don't think that you can do an AEW. I don't think you can do a high speed Stardom type like how Stardom does. You just can't do it. But like I just think so. I think that a trios title makes the most sense. If it's different, it fills a different void. If it works on the faction warfare that you've established for years since so it gives you a different matchup, give you different matchups. You get to protect people because like in trios matches or faction matches, you just pin the wink link.
Yeah. So
for me, I think that's the way to go. And you get a bunch of people on the card to do it, and something that keeps people fresh.
Yeah, 100%. It's the trios title. One note that I completely forgot to make earlier during the Elite thing was that Adam Cole, whenever he refers to Elite, he's not once mentioned Gallows or Anderson. Or Don Callis. He always, both times, he's only mentioned Kenny Omega and the Bucks, and he's just ignored them. Which I think, knowing in a different world, maybe I'd treat that as nothing. But in AEW, when everything's thought through, there's sudden weight to that. The fact that he's not addressing them, knowing how AEW works, like that's probably going to build something. It's the original Bullet Club is fine story before Cole signed with WWE, and they just shifted it to Cody, and it surprisingly worked incredibly well. Regardless, it was you can wind the clock back.
I think it's also something to like, hey, we're gonna make new shirts, and like they're not part of the merch. They're not getting a cut. So just put them over here. Like your funds will be going towards us.
And I really like the idea. Someone joked that they should release a Daniel Bryan shirt, a Bryan Danielson shirt of what he was wearing at the All Out premiere. His debut at All Out, the shirt that he was wearing. You release that shirt as a Daniel Bryan shirt. Because he was wearing, and he wore it again tonight, a plain white t-shirt with nothing on it. I'm just like...
Okay, so can we say that these were made by Virgil Abloh and then charge like people like $100 per white t-shirt?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So we can do the Kanye West scam.
Yes. It's because it's got the Bryan Danielson name attached to it as well. It's like, it comes with that prestige. Like you gotta...
Right.
Yeah. If you sold it for a normal price.
It's art. It's minimalism.
Yes. Go for that. He can fund his trips to Japan. He's got to fly. If Daniel Bryan, he's got to fly first class. Like he can't even go normally. Like he's got to get the best hotel in Tokyo. He's like, unfortunately, you just got to donate to Bryan Danielson. Just got to buy the t-shirt. And weirdly enough, it'd probably be more suitable to wear out in public than most wrestling shirts. So a nice white t-shirt. It'll be perfectly fine. Yeah. It's currently boiling in this country. I'm wearing nothing but plain white t-shirts. Just, yeah. Came Black Enigma with Gildan tees. Just, yes. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. This is the end of my crazy knackering week of like incredibly late night, then one day out of it to recover before the next one. This is the end. I've got nothing till Tuesday wrestling wise. I get to recover finally. The bags under my eyes, the paleness. I finally recover. I come back. I return. I noticed on the Raw review what it's like to actually do a review and be able to speak when I'm doing All Out at like 5 a.m. Oh, it was tough. It was tough.
That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
I mean, when it's a show that you're that hyped afterwards, though, like you don't mind doing it, but you suddenly realise how nice it is to be able to talk good. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah. My muscles not work nice at that time of the morning. Anyway, that is the end of the AEW review. Big thank you to James Boyd for joining me. All of his info is there on the screen. Or if you listen to the podcast version, you can follow him on Twitter at JamesBoyd87. And would you want to do your plugs, James?
Well, you just did one of them, and you can also go to @OneAce Radio on Twitter and check us out. Podcast where we talk about more or less the week of wrestling from Macro sense. We do some show reviews. Normally do Dynamite. Normally keep you up to date on what's going on. Like this week we covered the participants in the G1 this week as well. We'll probably have a review up for in a couple weeks. The preview. WWE Extreme Rules. So check us out.
And they're all on Twitter as well, at Social Suplex, at One Nation Radio. Also, there's the Facebook group, which I think Jeremy... I can't remember who runs it. Is it Rich and Jeremy? I don't actually know.
I'm also... We're all admins on it.
Oh,
so,
okay, yeah.
but yeah, it's the Wrestling Square Circle. Just enter it in Facebook and you can join. We have a Discord. So check out our Discord. I'll actually I'll link to it in the mid replies of this for the tweet for this that you put out.
Yes. And you can follow me on Twitter at the damn implicatless damn as in damn. And I've recently changed that to being Chono, not Farouk, because he does that goddamn type of thing. And you can follow me on Twitch as well. The Implications with 2 S's. Not streamed in a little while, but I'm hoping to, when things settle down, actually stream there a little bit more. And There's the columns over at Laws at Pain as well. I've not posted since I wrote my NXT column that went a little bit viral. So that's kind of been my magnum opus, to stand back for a bit and let it glow. or just a little bit of time to recover from the craziness of the type of comments it was getting. So yeah, well, I say that, I'll be starting the G1 Climax. Jamie Donovan will be joining me to review G1 Climax every single week as we're doing that. The best matches, the MVPs of the week, in covering that tournament as it progresses. It starts in 8 days, so my return to columning, it will be happening. But there's other writers absolutely knocking it out of the park. Hustle, who is back with us and posting. I find it crazy to see the signs for the site at old Attitude era shows, and like Hustle's posting right now stuff. Because that's me going back, it's a guy I know now, so me going back and seeing it's like, oh, that's weird. It's a completely different era.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, so, loads of writers knocking it out the park right now. And in terms of this, I'll be back on Tuesday to review Monday Night Raw. My hope is when things have all settled down, I could do a review during the day of Saturday and do like Rampage or maybe SmackDown together, and I can drop Raw. Maybe. Have to convince people that it's wise to not cover Monday Night Raw anymore. I feel like we're at that point. As in terms of the wrestling hierarchy, it's currently 4th. Because NXT just doesn't.
4th.
In terms of like the US wrestling of weekly. In terms of quality, it's below other things like Impact probably. But maybe even MLW and things. But in terms of prestige, where it would fall on that, I guess it's still, in terms of modern day, I think I would go with Dynamite, SmackDown, Rampage, Raw, kind of in that order, in terms of the actual momentum right now.
Maybe.
Then NXT, way far down. Like as my column image called it, not the column itself. The column image called it, NXT is dead. It's something new now. It's something else. That era's gone. We're on to something completely different now. We'll see it on Tuesday. I don't expect it to be awful. It's still mostly ran by the same people, even if the direction has shifted. It may feel like old school NXT. Just my only gripe is that was a 1 hour or like 45 minutes for a reason. That show is fine at 45 minutes. If you try and do that for 2 hours, I'm not sure USA is going to be too keen to renew that. Not too sure. We'll find out. It might be fine. Anyway, I've already said thank you to James for joining me. I'm going to end the show now at a sprightly 2 hours. Also, anyway, I'll see you on Tuesday for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you for joining, liking, subscribing, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated. Never take anything for granted. And with that, I bid you adieu and say adios. And James bids you.
Later.
I was going to say, for the podcast listeners, he waved. Yes. Right. Ta-ra.